I found out I was just a placeholder 3 weeks before our wedding, when I overheard Audrey telling her friend Belle that Brad promised to leave his wife for her once I paid for the venue. My chest locked. She laughed, called me, save money. That night, I canceled everything, including her access to the joint account. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Audrey used to visit my workshop after her long shifts, saying the scent of cedar calmed her. I believed it meant she loved my world. I didn't notice how she'd flinch at the sawdust on her clothes or how she'd never invite me to her work events. Jackson once joked she was more corporate than committed, but I brushed it off. She said she admired how grounded I was. Her mother, Margaret, made it clear I wasn't their idea of success. At brunch she said, "Furniture, that's a charming hobby." Audrey squeezed my hand under the table but didn't defend me. I told myself she was trying to keep the peace. She started suggesting I scale it digitally. But I wasn't ready. Cooper, my dog, sensed tension. He'd bark when Margaret visited. I missed what was in front of me. Audrey started asking for receipts, every lumber invoice, even paint samples. She said we needed to streamline for the wedding. I laughed it off until she brought spreadsheets to dinner. Jackson raised an eyebrow when I showed him. "She's managing your books now," he asked. I brushed it off. She called it protecting our future. It felt more like she was auditing my life. She convinced me to add her to the business account. "It'll make taxes easier," she said. I hesitated, but she was so insistent, I gave in. A week later, Jackson noticed a $2,000 transfer labeled consulting. "Did you hire someone?" he asked. I hadn't. Audrey said it was a mistake. She'd meant to move it for a decorator. My gut tightened, but I let it go. Belle dropped a weird comment at a dinner party. "Audrey's always been drawn to powerful men." I laughed it off. But something stuck. Audrey brushed it off as a joke. Later I asked Belle directly. She shrugged. "Just college stories." Still, the seed was planted. That night, Audrey changed her phone password. I didn't ask why. I convinced myself trust meant not snooping. The venue bill came early, $10,000. Audrey insisted we paid in full, not a lock in the discount. I wired the funds. The next day, I noticed a new necklace on her dresser, a designer brand I never bought. When I asked, she said, "A client gifted it." My hands clenched. Cooper growled when she kissed me that night. Hannah, my old high school friend, visited the studio with her class. Audrey arrived unexpectedly, watching from the doorway. Later, she asked if Hannah needed attention. I said she was just a friend. Audrey laughed, cold, dismissive. That weekend, Hannah canceled a lunch, saying she didn't want to cause drama. Audrey had already reached out to her. I didn't know what she said. 3 weeks before the wedding, I overheard Audrey and Belle laughing on the patio. I wasn't supposed to be home. Brad said once Ethan pays, it's game on. Audrey said. Belle snorted. "You're cruel." Audrey replied. "He's just holding the spot." My throat closed. I backed away, heart hammering. That night, I copied everything, texts, bank records, even photos. Then I locked her out of the accounts and slept in the studio with Cooper. Audrey showed up at the studio, fake crying, demanding explanations. I didn't let her inside. She yelled, "You misunderstood." Belle twisted my words. Cooper barked low and steady. Jackson came over mid-scene. Audrey switched gears, sobbing louder. "Please, let's talk." I handed her a box of her things. "We're done." She hurled the box, contents scattering on the gravel. She walked off barefoot, cursing. I turned to Jackson, jaw clenched. "No more." Margaret called, demanding I return the ring. "It's a Mitchell heirloom," she snapped. I told her to have Audrey ask me herself. She hissed something about men like me, and hung up. I mailed the ring back, insured and signed. Hannah heard about the breakup, and texted. "You okay?" I stared at it a long time. I typed, "Eventually." Cooper lay beside me, head on my foot. I didn't feel alone. A week later, Belle stopped by the studio. "I didn't know it was that deep," she said. Eyes lowered. She told me Brad was Audrey's client, married. Powerful. Audrey called him her retirement plan. Belle handed me screenshots of messages. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I nodded, numb. That night, I printed them, sealed them in an envelope, and left it on Margaret's doorstep. I didn't expect anything, but I wanted the truth to sting. That weekend, Hannah brought coffee to the studio. "You look like hell," she said, gently. I nodded. We sat in silence. She asked what I wanted now. I admitted I don't know, just that I wouldn't be anyone's placeholder again. Cooper curled up beside her. She smiled. "Good start." We began seeing each other more, slow, no pressure. I fixed her chair. She painted my sign. Something about it felt like rebuilding, not rebounding. Jackson offered to help revamp my website. "You need to look like the boss you're," he said. I didn't argue. We added an online shop, better photos, client testimonials, orders picked up. I buried myself in work, not as escape, but as purpose. One night, I caught myself smiling while packaging a custom order. Cooper nudged my knee. "Yeah," I said out loud. "We're still standing." That realization hit harder than expected. 2 months later, a client emailed asking about Audrey's new line. Confused, I clicked the link. Audrey had launched a design brand, using my old product shots photos from my studio. She'd even copied my logo style. I felt heat rise in my neck. Jackson cursed when he saw it. "That's theft." I contacted a lawyer. He said the case was strong, especially with metadata proving I own the images. I filed a cease and desist. Audrey emailed back within a day. "Furious. You're sabotaging my future." She wrote, she threatened to sue for emotional damages. My lawyer laughed, "She's bluffing." But then she posted a long blog accusing me of abuse, emotional manipulation, financial control. Comments flooded in, some believed her, others recognized the furniture and timeline. Jackson urged me to stay silent until legal counsel responded. Hannah held my hand to let the truth work. I nodded, jaw tight. A reporter reached out. Digging into Audrey's claims, I provided emails, account logs, the original product files. She reviewed everything. "Her timeline doesn't hold up," she said. The article dropped a week later behind the brand. The artist she erased. It was clinical, sorts, and damning. Audrey's following shrank overnight. Sponsors pulled out. Her site went offline. I didn't gloat, but I printed the article, folded it, and filed it in the same drawer as the ring receipt. Margaret showed up at my studio unannounced. "She's ruined everything," she said. "No apology, just blame." "What do you want?" I asked. "She needs help," she said flatly. I stared at her. "Then help her. But not with my name." I closed the door. Cooper didn't bark. That night, Hannah brought soup and no questions. I handed her a finished table I'd been working on years. I said, "The first real commission that feels right." I was invited to speak at a local makers panel. My hands shook stepping on stage. "Build from truth," I said, "not from someone else's blueprint." After, a young artist asked how I survived public defamation. "People see what loss," I told her that night. I opened a message from an old college mentor. "Proud of you." Took guts. I didn't cry. I just sat quietly, letting the validation settle. It felt earned, not borrowed. Brad's wife contacted me. Her message was short, thank you. I saw the article. She attached a photo, Audrey and Brad, arms around each other, time-stamped at 3 months before my proposal. I stared at it for a long time. Closure didn't come as a bang. It came quietly, like a curtain falling. I forwarded it to my lawyer, then deleted the thread. Cooper looked up. I whispered, "We're finally done." He wagged once. Slow and sure. A review site flagged my business for alleged fraud. I clicked through anonymous comments accusing me of stealing designs, abusing employees, even harassing Audrey. It felt like another ambush. Jackson traced the it3 came from Audrey's old office. I sent the data to my lawyer. He prepared a defamation suit. Stay above it, Hannah said, brushing sawdust off my collar. Let the truth work again. I nodded. This time, I wasn't shaken, I was ready. Audrey's former coworker reached out anonymously. You didn't deserve this, the message read. Attached for emails Audrey coaching interns to write fake reviews. I forwarded them to my lawyer. He added them to the case file. It wasn't just revenge, it was protection. Hannah said, she underestimated your spine. That night, we finished a bookshelf together. I etched a small signature under the base CH, not branding. Not revenge, just truth, carved in wood. A small business grant I'd applied for months earlier was approved. The email came with a subject line, your story matters. It included a feature on resilience. They'd seen the article. We want to help amplify real craftsmanship. I stood in the workshop, hands trembling. Hannah cheered from across the room. Cooper barked. It wasn't just recovery, it was recognition. That night, we toasted with root beer floats. To truth, she said, and real love, I added. Margaret emailed again short. Cole, do you ruin her? I didn't reply. Hannah suggested blocking her. Instead, I archived it. That felt better than rage. Jackson joked, you finally Marie Kondo'd to that chaos. We laughed hard, really laughed. The next day, a stranger walked into the studio and said, I read about you. I want a piece made by the man who stood his ground. I shook his hand, stunned. That moment felt louder than any accusation. An intern from Audrey's firm came forward publicly. She wrote a LinkedIn post titled Silence is Compliance. It detailed the culture Audrey encouraged, stealing designs, manipulating clients, gaslighting employees. The post went viral. Several former clients reached out to me for real work. Hannah said, you don't need to say anything anymore. She was right. That week, I hired my first assistant. Cooper inspected her boots like a boss. We finally felt like a team. A podcast host reached out. He wanted to interview me about rebuilding. I hesitated, but Hannah nudged me. Someone out there needs your words. The recording was where I talked about betrayal, about holding sawdust and grief in the same hand. When it aired, messages flooded in. One said, your story gave me courage to leave my toxic engagement. I saved that one. I wasn't just reclaiming my life, I was helping others find their spine too. I was at a coffee shop when someone recognized me. You're the guy who stood up to that consultant. Right? I froze. She smiled. Good on you. It wasn't fame. It was something quieter, respect. I texted Hannah, we're getting noticed, as she replied, you're being seen. Difference. That night, we finished a bench commission together. She painted wildflowers on the edge. I sealed them in a permanent honest. No more placeholders, just pieces meant to last. Brad was fire. The news wasn't loud, just a quiet headline in a finance newsletter. But it traveled fast. A former client forwarded it to me, with a note just as whisper sometimes. I didn't dance, I didn't post. I just added it to my file of truths that night. Hannah and I walked Cooper along the river. How's it feel? She asked. Like my life's finally mine. I said. No rage, just calm ownership. I got an invite to teach a workshop for young entrepreneurs. The organizer wrote, we want someone who knows what it means to rebuild. I stood in front of 20 faces, all hopeful. I said, sometimes, falling apart clears the blueprint. I wasn't a polished speaker, but they listened. One student said, you're real, that's rare. Afterward, I looked at Hannah. Maybe this is what I was meant to build. She nodded, smiling finally. The last time I saw Audrey, she passed me at a market. No words, just eyes that flicked away. She looked thinner, tired. I felt nothing, no victory, no hate. Just distance. Hannah reached for my hand, grounding me. We bought fresh wood slabs that day, planning a new dining set. Let's call it Restoration, she said. I like that. The name wasn't about revenge. It was about what comes after the fire. Rebuild, redefine, restore. I no longer measure success by partnership or profit. It's in a quiet standing a surface smooth, watching Cooper nap beside my workbench, Hannah humming nearby. I reclaimed my name, my brand, my worth. I don't check Audrey's socials. I don't need closure. I live it now, in cedar shavings and honest laughter. Every scar from that chapter holds shape in my craft, not pain structure. My table legs don't wobble now. I test every joint twice. I trust, but I measure, and I carve initials on the underside. CH, not for show, but for memory, for growth, for the truth we built from splinters. Audrey faded. No more posts, no more brand, just silence. Margaret never contacted me again. Clients kept coming, not for gossip, but because my work spoke. My story helped someone leave their own toxic love. That was enough. My reputation wasn't rebuilt. It was reborn, one truth at a time. Hannah and I opened a small gallery. Nothing fancy, just reclaimed wood and student art. We called it the second draft. At the launch, Cooper laid by the door like a sentinel. I shook hands with guests, no longer nervous. This wasn't a second chance. It was the right one, built honestly. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe to check out more stories on my channel.